one actress's words were enough to bring a billion-dollar empire to its knees. Fans are growing increasingly uneasy about Disney's upcoming Snow White remake, not because of the story or visuals, but because of what its lead star Rachel Zegler keeps saying in public. Branded a walking PR disaster, Zegler has become the unexpected face of controversy. Disney, a powerhouse controlling over 60% of the global film market and home to nearly 1,000 studios with Oscars lining its shelves, now finds itself teetering on the edge of collapse. And at the center of it all is one actress, Rachel Zegler. The original cartoon came out in 1937, she said. There's a big focus on her love story, with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah, weird. So, we didn't do that this time. Snow White was meant to be Disney's next box office triumph, but instead, it's being called one of the biggest cinematic disasters in recent history. And while the film itself disappointed many, it was Zegler's public comments that truly ignited the firestorm. Rather than backtracking or apologizing, she doubled down, openly defying critics with bold, controversial takes. From attacking the beloved classic to stirring political debate, Rachel Zegler's version of Snow White didn't just spark outrage, it may have cost her everything. So what exactly did she say to destroy her shot at stardom? Let's find out. Disney began the search for a fresh face to bring Snow White back to life, and it was a golden opportunity. I grew up captivated by Disney films, and while I never pictured myself as Snow White, I'll admit, I daydreamed about being the prince a few times. This time around, Disney wasn't looking for someone with skin white as snow. The character had already been reimagined. In the 1937 classic, her name came from her porcelain complexion. But in the new version, she earns the name by surviving a deadly snowstorm. It was a bold reinterpretation, and as a lifelong fan, I was genuinely curious to see how it would unfold. That's when Disney placed a major bet on Rachel Zegler, a relatively unknown actress with no major box office hits to her name. It was a high-risk move. I had no idea what I was auditioning for, Zegler later admitted. It's funny when people ask what drew me to the role. I didn't even know I was reading lines with Dopey. Then the director Mark Webb goes, "Dopey's gonna look at you and whistle." That's when it clicked. I realized it was Snow White. And in that moment, I thought, I'll elbow everyone out of the way to play this part. Rachel Zegler's story once looked like a modern fairy tale. If things had gone smoothly, she might have become the defining Disney princess of a new generation, with Hollywood embracing her as the next big thing. But fairy tales aren't real. And this one didn't come with a happily ever. Rather than seizing her moment, Rachel Zegler let it slip through her fingers. She didn't just miss her shot. She set off a storm that even Disney couldn't contain. It's hard to defend Zegler when it was her own words that sparked the chaos. With every new interview, it was like tossing another match into an already growing fire. Her dismissive take on the original film and her politically charged remarks dimmed her rising star and triggered massive backlash. At first, I thought, surely Disney, a media titan built on storytelling and spectacle, could manage the fallout. But I was wrong. They can craft magical worlds, yet couldn't silence one outspoken actress. The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her, Zegler said. I just hope that despite all my flaws and cracks, people will still line up to see me. When the Snow White trailer premiered in August 2024, it exploded online. 24 million views almost overnight. The response was mixed, but the curiosity was undeniable. Then came Zegler's thank you post to fans, followed by a controversial add-on, Free Palestine. Politics, especially the deep, decades-long conflict between Israel and Palestine, is a minefield. Even seasoned diplomats choose their words carefully. But here was a 22-year-old actress with no background on the issue, jumping in with full confidence. It became clear that Rachel Zegler lacked emotional discipline and control over her public image. More controversial remarks followed. Even after studio executives reportedly met with her to advise caution, she stood her ground. She refused to delete the post, even though her Snow White co-star is Israeli. Things only worsened during the film's press tour. Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen, seemed distant, almost cold toward Zegler. And this wasn't just speculation. Viewers picked up on the tension. On stage, there was no chemistry, just awkward silence. At the 2025 Oscars, when Zegler and Gadot appeared together to present, their stiff body language became an instant viral moment. Fans analyzed every glance and movement, and the conclusion was obvious. The tension was real. Put both actresses side by side. They were in the same film. Both were hit with controversy. But while Gal Gadot kept her composure and continued booking major roles, Rachel Zegler's reputation unraveled. The backlash turned brutal. What started as criticism quickly escalated into hate and even threats. That once wholesome image of a rising Disney star dissolved into chaos. At the heart of it all? Attitude. In interviews, Zegler came off as arrogant, dismissive, and out of touch with the legacy she was meant to uphold. Instead of creating a connection with fans, her confidence alienated them. "This isn't 1937 anymore," she said. "Our Snow White isn't going to be saved by a prince. She's not dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming a leader, just like her father told her she could be if she was brave." She doubled down on her stance, calling the original Snow White weird, and slamming the love story, claiming the prince practically stalked her. To Zegler, this wasn't a romantic fairy tale. It was a leadership arc. But the internet didn't take it lightly. Clips from her interviews quickly went viral on TikTok and X, and users mocked her relentlessly. Many felt she disrespected a beloved classic and came off ungrateful for a role most actresses would dream of. To them, she didn't capture Snow White's gentle spirit. Rather than honoring the role, Zegler downplayed the original Snow White and framed the remake as the real version. "I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for your high horse. I was just trying to be kind. Kind, then disappear and take the patriarchy with you. Go away, stalker. You're weird." Many critics argued she should have focused on promoting the film, not airing personal opinions. Disney's PR team scrambled to do damage control, rolling out press events, trailers, and nostalgic musical references to the original. But Zegler's interviews drowned out everything else. The storm couldn't be stopped. Instead of celebrating a fresh take on a timeless classic, the media spotlight stayed glued to the controversy. The problem wasn't the story. It wasn't even the film's production. The real issue? The new Snow White unintentionally shattered the magic. Where did a 22-year-old with no major achievements find the boldness to alienate fans rather than embrace humility? Had she simply held her tongue, things might have gone very differently. But now, every word is etched into the film's legacy, a documented part of its downfall. Even Disney appears to have moved on. A once promising star flamed out, simply because she didn't know when to stop talking. Opening weekend? Just $43 million. By the second week, the film had plummeted a brutal 66%, dropping to $14.2 million. Major theaters quietly pulled it from prime slots, and some scrapped it entirely. Now Snow White stands as one of the biggest flops in both Disney and Hollywood history. Nearly $370 million spent on production and marketing. And what did they get? Scathing reviews, angry audiences, and an IMDb score of 1.5 out of 10. A number so low, it's likely some producers wish they could erase the film entirely. And still, Rachel Zegler kept speaking. On immigration, women's rights, the US election, you name it. The result? A spectacular crash. And this time, there was no one else to blame. A now viral photo of Rachel standing alone in an empty theater during her film screening became the final image of her downfall. She went from a rising star to a cautionary tale before her career had even taken off. Even previously neutral audiences turned on her, labeling her as arrogant, entitled, and out of touch. And Disney? They've pulled back. She's now the face of a failure they'd rather leave behind. To be fair, not everything was her fault. Disney's marketing efforts were minimal. Snow White lacked the hype and visibility that normally surrounds their princess films. Her version of the character, a survivor of a snowstorm, not a fair-skinned girl from 1937, sparked backlash from the start. While her casting reflected Disney's push for diversity, many fans felt she didn't visually match. Rachel may not have had the media training or experience to handle such a major role. But Disney also fumbled its own legacy. To make matters worse, the studio replaced real actors with CGI dwarves, a move many found not only unconvincing, but disrespectful to the dwarfism community. Now, this film isn't just another box office bomb. It's become a symbol of Disney's growing identity crisis, and Rachel Zegler is its poster child. To many, she's no longer seen as the future of Hollywood. She's now viewed as an actress with more attitude than talent, someone who lacked the humility to embrace the opportunity she was given. Behind the scenes, it gets even messier. Insiders claim studios are now questioning whether she can even carry a film. Marketing teams are hesitant. Can she still draw an audience? What was meant to be a triumphant fairy tale has turned into a digital witch hunt. And this time, the villain wasn't the evil queen. It was Rachel herself. Not long ago, she was hailed as Hollywood's next big thing. Now, she's one of its most heavily criticized stars. Snow White didn't just fail. It became one of Disney's most humiliating flops. And fans don't support a princess who seems to mock them. Rachel Zegler isn't just battling a PR disaster, she's facing a hard truth. In today's digital world, words matter. Audiences no longer separate the actor from the attitude. And arrogance? It can kill a career. Maybe her journey isn't over. But if she wants a second chance, there's one lesson she needs to learn. Talent may open the door, but only humility keeps it open. In Hollywood, the spotlight moves fast. If Rachel wants to stay in it, she'll need to master both her message and her silence. Is this the end for Rachel Zegler? Or can she rewrite her story?